What is up from a super tired JP? It's currently about 4:45. Today's video was supposed to be about sunrise shooting around London, but as you may be able to see from that little window over there, the sun's already risen. So unfortunately this is going to have to be called a early morning something shoot around London. I'm hoping the weather is going to be nice today. Weatherman has said that it will be. Whether we trust that is a whole different story.
It's now 6:15. We are in St Catherine's Docks, wandering around. Look how beautiful this is. This place is 10 out of 10 because firstly, no one really knows it's here. If you're not like a proper London app, trying to include myself in that somehow. Shooting today on none other than Fuji Gang. Currently in my summer uniform. I've got speed shoes on. So I'm going to explore around here, see if I can get any kind of like crispy morning photo, and then head over to Shard, London Bridgeway, figure shit out from there. So I don't know about you guys, every time I go out shooting, the first couple of frames I take always suck. They are so bad. So if you go out and your first couple of photos are pretty bad, do not worry. It gets better. You just have to get into your flow, you have to keep going and keep hustling. Lighting is everything. It was only until pretty recently that I actually understood what people meant by lighting is everything. Because I used to be like, yeah, photography is about a cool subject. Photography is about this, it's about that. So much of it is about lighting, how it falls off, how it makes things look interesting. First tip, super basic, get out there when the light is nice. So sunrise and sunset. If you're going out during midday and you're coming back with a bunch of photos you're not that happy with, it's probably because the light just isn't that nice. And the second tip about lighting, you don't want flat light. If you look at Tower Bridge, the light here is hitting everything pretty evenly. So there's no contrast, there's no interest. Everything is just flat. Yes, it's a wicked subject and it's always going to look cool in photos, but you can take a much more interesting photo when you have light coming from the side, when you're having light from behind. And so if your subject looks very flat and very boring, try and change where the light's coming from. Whether that's you take a step to the side, whether that's you move your light. It's all about trying to create contrast and shape within your subject to make that stand out and look interesting. So I've currently found another composition where I've got Tower Bridge just over here, nicely framed between a bunch of different trees. And so this brings me on to my next tip. Don't get your subject kind of overlapped with other things or other lines. And so what I mean by that is, say we take a photo of Tower Bridge. At the moment with this frame, you see how this bit of tree blocks Tower Bridge. In a photo, it just looks messy and a bit of a snapshot. It's not very deliberate in comparison to what you could be creating. And so with that in mind, I typically recommend trying to keep your subject as clean as possible. And that helps you to really create something that makes the photo stand out. We're now at the opposite side of Tower Bridge. Fine, for London, you can see the sun is streaming down this way. Instead of being on the flat side of the sun, we are now dark side of the sun. The dark side of the sun. We're now on the flip side. So all of our subjects are now dark, but they have really cool and interesting shadows. That makes stuff just so much more interesting and engaging. So by being aware of the lighting conditions, where the light position is in relation to your subject, that is what people mean by light is everything. Light creates shape, light creates interesting subjects. Just always be aware of that and start just moving your subject in relation to the light. my point that I was saying about lines and trying to get them nice and clean. I'll show you what I mean. If I take a photo of the city skyline, you see how that lamppost is just cutting into the edge there. I think that the easiest way to make this photo just slightly better is take a couple of steps this way. You see how it just looks a lot cleaner. And so by taking a little bit more time when you're about to take a photo to think, okay, is there anything that's like overlapping? And then being able to create that little bit of space, I find is just the little things that just make a photo so much better. Now that I'm sat down and got my coffee, well then now would be a perfect time to explain the two different styles of street photography and then how that then impacts your photography experience and then can result in you getting better photos. So two different styles have multiple different names, but the first one is kind of like running and gunning. You are out and about, you are hunting for the photo. You don't stay in a location for too long and you keep moving and you keep just seeing a subject and shooting. And it's very quick, very speedy. I see it as very like reflexive. And the second style is kind of like a farmer, where you take a long time at a single location, you find a composition, you keep working it, you keep moving until you find what you think is the best composition given the circumstances. And often it's a mix of both. And in my experience, I spend a lot of time kind of like running around going location, trying to keep on finding subjects, keep on moving, keep on being interested. Then when I find a spot that I am like, this is looking really nice at the moment, that's when I hunker down. That's when I start thinking, okay, this is where I want to start trying to create a really nice, good photo. And by being aware that other photographers will be out and about shooting quickly and then will slow down when they find a scene that they like, I think that that's quite empowering to new photographers. But having the confidence and the assurance just to wait, because in my opinion, it's better to get a single photo that absolutely bangs than it is to get 50 that you're like, oh yeah, they're alright. So with that in mind, perhaps it's worth trying. Running around, shooting, finding stuff. But then when there's something that really works, chilling, figuring out how to take the best composition you can in that location. Before I forget, anyone that's in London right now will know just how amazing it feels to have this beautiful, beautiful sunshine after weeks of just horrible, gross, drizzly, so absolute fire. And so a bit of an intermediate tip here is that camera positioning is so important for the look and feel of your photos. If you're taking a photo of a building and you want it to look lifelike, and you want to have the camera square, as soon as you start tilting the camera like this, that starts creating vertical lines that go in and that go out. And that can be used to accentuate the size of something. So if you're underneath the building and you want to make it look really big, you go low and then look up, then it makes all the vertical lines converge, which makes things look massive in your frame. Whereas if you're trying to create something that looks very realistic, then you want to have the camera as flat as possible. So another thing to be aware of is keeping the camera level. And so this creates a even horizon or a chaotic horizon. And this can be used to really accentuate things. So my friend Dan Byrne told me about this. Any kind of visual art that's trying to communicate chaos or a sense of frantic energy often has a horizon that is, instead of being flat, is off at an angle. And in street photography, we can use this to really accentuate the mood and the feel of the image. If you're trying to show a sense of peace, then you want to have as flat horizon line as possible. If you want to have a very chaotic, very all over the place energy about your photo, then perhaps try a off-axis horizon, I guess.